Welcome everyone to the 2020 ARCUS annual meeting. It's my pleasure as the president of the board of directors of ARCUS this year to open the meeting and to give you a little bit of background about our organization and some of the things that we've done in the past year. In this video, there'll be three of us that are talking. Helen Wiggins, who's the executive director of ARCUS. My name is David Cairns. I'm the president of the ARCUS board of directors, and Peter Webley, who's the secretary of the ARCUS board. A little bit of background about myself. I'm a vegetation ecologist and geographer. I'm based at Texas A&M University in College Station, Texas, and I've been on the board of directors of ARCUS since 2015. ARCUS is an organization that is near and dear to my heart. It's been very important in facilitating the research that I do as an ecologist in the Arctic. And I hope that all of you see the benefit in ARCUS and really gain from this annual meeting this year. So a little bit about who we are and our history. We're a not-for-profit organization. We were started in 1988 and headquartered in Fairbanks, Alaska. Our organization is a virtual one where we are distributed across the country. So there are people that our staff work for ARCUS are located in several states, several cities in Alaska, and we've become very adept at working in a virtual world, which has turned out to be really important through 2020. We are primarily funded through grants and contracts, and the National Science Foundation is a major funder of ARCUS through a cooperative agreement and also through additional project grants. ARCUS is set up as a consortium with institutional members and also with individual members, and our members are important parts of who we are. Historically, ARCUS was originally set up and was consisted of primarily research universities, but we've grown and changed in the last decade to incorporate opportunities for individuals, companies, and other organizations to be part of the Arctic research that we facilitate. So currently there are 30 members of the ARCUS research cooperative that we're a consortium that we're part of, ranging from large research universities, including the University of Washington, Texas A&M, the University of Alaska Fairbanks, and also including smaller research entities and also individual companies that are part of the Arctic research enterprise. ARCUS is an organization that really facilitates communication about Arctic research issues. So our vision is to provide a strong and productive connections among US and international Arctic researchers, educators, indigenous and traditional knowledge holders, Arctic residents and local experts and other stakeholders to improve the understanding of our changing Arctic. We do this through a set of shared values, of shared knowledge, transparency, multi-knowledge and cross-disciplinary collaboration, and also informed decision-making. We're involved in, we seek to increase engagement, and we also are very committed to diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Helen Wiggins.
Hi, and welcome to our annual meeting. I'm Helen Wiggins. I'm the executive director of ARCUS, and I've held this position since January of this year and have been with ARCUS for 17 years. My background before I came to ARCUS was in forest ecology and biogeography, and I live and work in a little log cabin outside of Wasilla, Alaska. So I'll take a few minutes to give a sense of the kinds of activities that we do. Our central focus is really about connecting people and groups to tackle the complex challenges in Arctic research. And we do this through a diverse suite of activities. And really all these activities are connected and support multiple goals. But for this presentation, I'll just divide them into three categories: interdisciplinary collaborations and networking, communications, and education. So ARCUS is essentially a bridging organization. And one way we do this is by building collaborations across disciplines, sectors, geography, and perspectives, specifically including Indigenous and traditional knowledge as well. And I've just got a few examples shown here of our projects. The Sea Ice for Walrus Outlook synthesizes weather and ice forecasts in the Bering Sea region by integrating National Weather Service models with local Indigenous observations from 7 communities. And it's the kind of project that embodies the collaborations between Western and Indigenous knowledge holders in the Arctic. Let's see, in early spring of this year, we organized the Polar Technology Conference, which brought together a variety of experts to talk about emerging technologies to support polar science. We also organized a meeting of the National Science Foundation funded Navigating the New Arctic, or NNA projects, to bring them together to discuss ways that they could address challenges and opportunities in convergent science. The Indigenous Scholars Program sends Indigenous scholars, which are just defined as experts in their own knowledge system, to Washington, D.C. to talk with DC-based policy and decision makers on areas of mutual interest. SIPN2, or the Sea Ice Prediction Network, is an international and multidisciplinary network of sea ice researchers and others to work together to improve sea ice forecasting. Another way we connect people is through the many communication tools that we've developed. Everything from our Witness to Arctic newsletters, which has nearly 9,000 subscribers, our webinar series, several mailing lists, and a whole variety of other online resources like our publications directory, our one-stop shop Arctic calendar, where we compile all Arctic relevant events, and other tools like social media and targeted outreach. And these tools, like in addition to supporting the connections and networking, we also use to really amplify the outreach for our members and other groups. And all of these are available for anyone to use and access and contribute to. So the third category of activities is integrating research and education. Polar Trek, there over to the left, is our flagship education program where K through 12 teachers and informal educators participate in field research projects in the Arctic and Antarctica as an integral part of their research team. And they reach out to students and the public from the field through webinars. They create curriculum resources and teaching resources based on real polar science data. The Arctic in the Classroom project partners K through 12 teachers, students, and community members with local citizen science projects in Alaska. And we're also involved in efforts to better engage rural and Alaska Native undergraduates and youth in STEM, and to also encourage culturally appropriate STEM programs. The last thing I wanted to talk about in this section was not just examples of what we do, but how we do it. So the approach that we take in all the projects and activities that we do. The first one listed here is about process and having a transparent process in our work, meaning it's clear to everyone how a product or activity was developed, who was involved, what's going to be done with the information, and why. Being user-centered, or starting with the end in mind. So knowing who the key participants or stakeholders are and involving them from the beginning. And we also ask for user or participant feedback as much as possible. So not telling ourselves how we think we're doing, but are asking the people we're serving. Another key facet to our approach is the application of collaboration skills, sometimes called soft skills, but it's really much more than that. There's whole fields of research around how to collaborate well, but it's about honing skills like emotional intelligence, communication, awareness of group dynamics, and how to foster inclusiveness. And then finally, always thinking strategically. So having clear strategic priorities and focus, and defining metrics of success. So asking ourselves, what is the change we want to see, and what will things look like if we are successful? And all of these approaches directly reflects our values, and that is what enables us to be successful in all the collaborative work that we do. And again, you can find more information on these activities and all of our projects on the ARCUS website.
So hello, thanks Helen for that. I'd like to also welcome everybody to our annual meeting for ARCUS this year for 2020. I'm Peter Webley. I'm based at the University of Alaska Fairbanks. My background is in natural hazard mapping and monitoring, the use of spaceborne data for natural hazards across the Arctic. I'm also part of the unmanned vehicle program here, ARCUS, and situated within the Geophysical Institute. I've been on the board of directors of ARCUS since early 2019, but I've also been involved in task forces and other items of involving ARCUS before that, and became the one of the member representatives for my university earlier this year. So in terms of the strategic planning process, we started this in late 2019 and continued it on into earlier this year. And it was made up of board of directors members, ARCUS staff members, and other member representatives. And the real reason for this was to look for developing more of a focus and prioritization of where we'd like to go as an organization, but not departing from our values and the mission that David laid out earlier, and trying to bring in all the needs of the research community. So we looked on and eventually came down to 4 goals. And the first one I'm showing here is the research goal. And you can see that under this goal, we have specific objectives, and it's really there to look to collaborate across the researchers, research organizations, and the community that is looking to analyze and operate across the Arctic region. And we have different metrics that we're looking to accomplish under these objectives, and the ability to adapt and change as there's a changing Arctic and as there's changing funding resources available to people as they look to operate in the Arctic. Our second goal, the real highlight here to think of, is this is communications. This is how we share information, how we exchange information, how we exchange knowledge, and how we work with members, many of you that are here today, and maybe some more that will be joining us from participating in the annual meeting, and look at the needs of the community to better understand how to communicate research and to communicate knowledge across our Arctic members. Goal 3, this is educate. This is focusing in on all educational ranges from K through 16, both on the formal and the informal, and really to educate those about the Arctic and to engagement in research. So we're talking here about training, we're talking about culturally responsive education and outreach, we're looking at fostering citizen science and community-based research, working with those Arctic communities and those Arctic researchers looking to work in the Alaskan region, and also focusing in on the youth. As we highlight in our goal, we are fully looking at the K-16 age range and both those informal and informal educators. Again, we wanted to show with our goals critical areas of development, critical areas of growth, but also areas to sustain work that ARCUS has done since its formation in the late 80s and beyond 2020 into the next 5 years or so. The final goal that I'm about to bring up focuses on the sustainability and growth of ARCUS as an organization, but the actual strategic planning process and the strategic planning goals are there to be adaptive. They're there to not be a static document. They're there to be able to change with the changing funding and the changing research interests, and the ability to have metrics that we can accomplish, and then objectives that we can say have been completed and move on and maybe bring in new objectives as we look to grow and develop as an organization. And the final goal is just to support the mission of ARCUS. You heard David talk about its mission and values. So we're looking to be a diverse and inclusive membership, the organizational capacity of ARCUS to provide the services to members, member organizations and those looking to work with ARCUS, to diversify funding resources so we are continually growing and adapting organization, and to ensure that we are ready to respond to new opportunities, as we saw Helen talking about the navigating the new Arctic as a focus area, a big idea from NSF, and there will be new opportunities coming forward. So we want to make sure that ARCUS is situated and positioned to be ready to adapt and respond to what is out there. So that's the strategic planning process. This is something that we've put together over the spring and summer of 2020, and we're now looking to move forward and bring some of those objectives into the operational day-to-day activity of ARCUS. So having covered the strategic planning process of how ARCUS is looking to move forwards in 2020 beyond, I'd now like to give you an overview of how you might want to join with us. We had earlier from David an example of the different organizations, but maybe some of you as part of the meeting would like to join with the community. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of an overview of this. So to become an ARCUS member, you can join as an institution, as we saw with the imagery where everything from academic organizations to private organizations to other consortiums. But you can also join as an individual. I'm actually an individual member as well as my institution being a member. As then you can actually work with some of our committees and some of our working groups. That's actually how I got first involved. Was part of one of the task force back in 2018, and from that I saw what ARCUS provides, what I can provide to ARCUS, and what ARCUS provides to me as an individual and to my organization. And that actually helped me to work on some of the directions of ARCUS, and also to help guide the activities. And as a result, I became more involved. And I'm now a board of director and the secretary of ARCUS. So you can become a speaker in our webinar series, contribute an article to the newsletter, so that gets out to all of ARCUS member organizations across our main list. Join some of our specific projects that Helen mentioned, and look to utilize what we can provide. What are some of the expertise we have across the ARCUS membership? What are some of the resources that we have? How to network with others in your research discipline, others that you might be wanting to connect to for operations, for future field operations, or just for future collaborations that you can do, knowledge exchange, educators, funding opportunities. So a full spectrum of what might be Arctic research, really focusing on we're here as a consortium to help all of those within the consortium. And obviously ARCUS can help to promote your activities, to promote your projects and announcements, and then you can use the communication channels that we provide to help your Arctic research move forwards. So I'd just like to say thank you to everybody who's here as part of the annual meeting. I'd like to thank David and Helen for their presentations on the overview of ARCUS and some of our projects. And just to say, please do get in touch with any board or staff member. You'll hear from some of them today as part of the annual meeting, and you can find more information about them on our website. And really, we just get in touch. We'd like to hear from you. And I just want to say thank you, and here's to a great annual meeting.